And we're back, and something I found out after recording the last one is that if you press the middle mouse button, it gets rid of that. I'll need to remember that from when CGs pop up, because it's a lot more convenient than going here and then going to show image. So the loud clatter of books falling into the return slot abruptly breaks the grip of silence over the school library. It's become a habit of me to come to the library at least once a week. Not only does the reading itself keep me busy, but discussing books with Hanako and Lily also does. Obviously startled, Yuko suddenly twists towards the direction of the noise. I'd have thought her used to people dropping books by now, since she does work here. Oh, hello, Hazao. Back again? It takes me a moment to respond, my mind still distracted by the familiar melody of Lily's humming that's hardly left my ears in the several days it's been since I fell asleep to it. Oh yeah, just returned some books I borrowed. She casts her eyes downwards, presumably to the bin of the books dropped into. You're a very heavy reader, aren't you? Yeah, it's become a bit of a routine now, passes the time at least. I wish I had free time to pass. From small talk to depression in less than 5 seconds. I think that's a new record for her. She seems a bit down in general today, even compared to normal. Considering she has to work 2 jobs just to support herself, I could see how that could take a toll on her lifestyle. Come to think of it, the pay for her job here can't be all that bad. The idea of staff in such a prestigious private school going hungry strikes me as counterintuitive. Working 2 jobs must take a lot of time. I'd probably never manage it. You're lucky being a student. Do you think you'll be able to go to university? Yeah, if she's asking, then I guess that's the expected result of having this kind of education. Private schools like this don't exactly come cheap. I guess. I have the money, I think. I've got plans which will require going to one, and my marks are good enough. It's more of a matter of how I'll pay to do so. University costs so much that I'm having to work 2 jobs to afford to enter it. Paying for daily expenses, too, makes it a lot harder. If you're reading this much, though, that means you're doing well in school, right? Interesting logical jump. Not an altogether wrong one, though. I suppose so. I didn't find any of the exams very hard, aside from maybe 1 or 2. Do you mind if I ask what studies you're pursuing in university? Yuko appears to be genuinely brighten at the question. Anthropology, to be specific. I'm specializing in the history of classical-era Athenian civilization and democracy. No, she really seems to know her stuff. Such enthusiasm is to be admired, and it's nice to see her genuinely excited about something. I guess even someone like Yuko can be happy if she has a visible road ahead of her. Well, that's good to hear. Both of us jump at this sudden interruption coming from my pocket. Apologizing profusely and quickly shuffling into the hallway as I fumble with the cover of my mobile phone, I glance at the screen. Weird, it's a mobile number I don't recognize. Considering I can count the number of people with my number on one hand, I briefly wonder whether it's some telemarketer that lucked out. Hello, Hazao Nakai speaking. Geez, pick up faster next time. Anyway, guess who? It only takes me a second to recognize the distinctly deep, brusque voice. Hey, Misha, didn't expect you to call me. You actually think I sound like her? Not at all, Akira. I don't remember giving you my number, though, so I thought I'd mess with you. No, that, I got Lily to give it to me, not hard. She positively brims with pride at the statement. She's trying to get me caught up in her pace, I know it. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised that the 2 would share my number, though, given how close they are. So, what's up? You free right now? I guess. Why? Could you meet me at the park in town? I just want to talk to you about some stuff. Is that an invitation to a date? What? Of course not. She sounds suddenly crestfallen, her previous teasing nature having instantaneously left. It seems strange for her. Anyway, I don't see why not. When do you want to meet? Kind of now-ish. Wait, right now, but it's... The dead silence suddenly coming from the phone announces the fact that she has unceremoniously hung up. For a long time, I just stand there, staring at the call-ended message on the screen while replaying the conversation in my head. What the hell, Akira? Throwing a glance up and down the street, I cross the road and step into the park. I've learned to pace myself on such walks, mostly because Lily's slower speed during our forays into town means I have to consciously slow myself down. That aside, I hope Akira didn't expect me to be immediately prompt. It only takes a couple of seconds to spot her, waiting on the bench with a can of beer in her hand. Yeah, see, that is handy. That middle mouse button, I have to remember that. The look she gives me as I walk up lacks any hint of acknowledgement or greeting. Much of that look, I needn't have come, you know. I knew you would. You're the kind of person, after all. I lower my brow at her remark as she disposes of the can, emptied by the time I arrived, and a metallic clatter rings out. Akira takes a seat on the old wooden bench, and I follow her lead. She takes another can of beer from beside her and opens it before speaking. Taking a large gulp, she seems to really like that stuff. I suppose I don't need to ask what this is about, or rather, who it's about? I heard from Lily that you asked about our family. Oh, my mouse fell off the screen. Oh, they share more than phone numbers, that's for sure. I'd probably be very worried right now if it weren't for the total lack of malice in her voice. Rather, her tone sounds almost wistful. Idle curiosity, mostly. I have to admit, I'd never have guessed you two were half Scottish. She gives a wry chuckle of amusement. I've heard that before, trust me. A small smile falls from her face, her eyes looking ahead distantly. Aside from the occasional elderly couple talking as they slowly walk the meandering paths, the odd aging car, it's pleasantly quiet. She didn't tell you everything, though, did she? It was pretty brief. Your parents live in Scotland, she hasn't met them since she was 12, and she wants to meet them again. It's always surprised me how devoted she is to our parents for all the good they did us. The way she says it sounds almost derisive. She gives a small sigh as if to quickly brush the feelings away. Why do you think they left us, Al? Why do I think they left? From what Lily told me, it was because of work. I guess a pretty decently paying job was involved as well, given the way your parents seem to live. So Lily went to a private school, and that's why she carries herself with the airs and graces of the upper class. Yeah, since the business in Inverness boomed, our father decided to move directly to the same city as its headquarters. That's just the conclusion I thought you'd come to, though. You're too good-natured. You don't think they left for their career? I'm sitting here bitching to you about it. What do you think? Yamaku Academy. I've always felt that place was kind of creepy, like it was an isolated hideaway for those proper society doesn't want to see nor hear. They probably just rue the fact that Lily wasn't old enough to be shoved there by the time they left. A long silence follows her abrupt and very harsh criticism of her own parents and Yamaku. Lily's blindness is hardly something that can be simply ignored for a high-class family attempting to keep up appearances, much less so when a lucrative offer is on the table. Eventually, Akira gives a derisive snort, her feelings coming to a head. Moving to secure the financial future with his new job posting, even at the time I hardly believed it. Not wanting to simply be an avenue for her venting, I gently tried to steer the discussion. So you stayed in Japan with Lily, then? Well, either I stayed with her or she went to live with an ailing grandmother and grandfather. What about Shizune's family? If you're cousins, then... Our fathers hate each other. I'd have been more than happy to let them, to tell them to go screw themselves and live with them anyway, but Lily wouldn't have wanted that. I'd also had an offer for a job by then, so we did our best to keep our parents' house in proper shape and tried to continue our lives as if they'd never left. So you just lived by yourselves. And basically, Lily had school and I had my job, so we weren't exactly languishing. With her schooling, her study, and having to do chores while I worked, though, I can't help feeling like I failed her. In the end, I tried to be there for her and screwed it up. Expecting a 19-year-old to be a mother for a blind child, it's ridiculous. So Lily and Akira lived alone, and after their parents moved, with Lily largely taking care of herself. Guess that explains her apparent independence compared to many in Yamaku. I may have lived alone much of the time since my parents both worked, but that's just something else entirely. Oh, sorry for making you listen to my moaning, Gazelle. I don't mind at all, but do you mind if I ask why you're telling me all this? You always were curious? Context, I suppose. Life isn't a fairy tale, Gazelle. Some people have to learn that the hard way. She takes a long drink from the can in her hand, her face becoming more depressed than distant. I broke up with my boyfriend a few days ago. After I leave, we're not going to be able to see each other again. But that's how life is. You can't just set your life up and expect it to stay that way forever. Sometimes stuff happens that you have to roll with, even if it means hurting yourself or others. She takes a long breath before looking up at the bright orange sky. Damn, if I smoked, I could take a nice long drag right about now and look kind of cool. I want to respond to help her in whatever way I can, but I feel utterly useless. This kind of situation is one I've never been in, and I simply don't have the experience to say anything meaningful to comfort her. Akio looks over and evidently picks up on this, much to my embarrassment. I must look pretty pathetic right now, whining about this to someone I barely know. Hardly, and I'm pretty much an expert on looking pathetic. She gives a chuckle, the act feeling like a personal victory for me. You're a good kid, Azao. When I said that I approved of you being with my sister, I wasn't joking or just being nice. She picks herself up off the seat with a grunt, one that seems ill-fitting given her age, and throws the now empty can into the bin after one last swig. It's just unfortunate that doesn't really count for much in this world. When I said that I was leaving for Scotland, I was doing it because a good position opened up in our company's headquarters. One of folks told me that when we were at their place, though, they also gave Lily a summons to rejoin them in Inverness. No way. Her evasiveness when asked about our future, that awkwardness that had steadily grown between us, that uncharacteristic outburst of anger. All of them suddenly fit into place. The same family that she reminisced about after Hanako's birthday party, the same family that left her and Akila to themselves after taking flight to greener pastures. Now I feel stupid for never cornering Lily on what was bugging her. I'd never even considered if something had happened during her trip to her family home in Inverness. And now a sense of unease grows in my chest if her family has summoned her to join them in Scotland, all the way on the other side of the earth. Has she accepted? Lily hasn't told me whether she plans to accept, and it seems she hasn't told you either. That's why I called you down here to talk, Izao. Context, huh? I sit back, my feelings of worry and frustration no doubt written all over my face. Lily's a strong person, Izao, but she's not infallible. I guess it's my job to worry about her, being her older sister, but I think that you deserve to know. I understand. You okay? You sound depressed. No, I'm just thinking. That's good. Thinking is good. Being rational won't get you anywhere. She looks at her watch, barely moving her wrist. I've got to go. Will you be okay? I'll be fine, don't worry. I'll have to talk to Lily about it and get everything sorted out. She gives a smile, but it doesn't feel all that genuine or sincere. Really, both of us are dancing around the fact that Lily's on the precipice of the biggest decision of her life and is trying to take the entire burden on herself. And part of that burden is the matter of our relationship. By the time I look up, Akio's already walking off with her hand held up. For the first time in a long while, I finally have an answer to something, perhaps not even that. Well, I finally have an answer to something, probably not even that. But at least I now have the right question to ask. Will you leave or stay? Got a drink break in early. Hurry, Lily. I'm moving as fast as I can. I can barely make out Lily's voice over the deafening pounding of the rain, even though I dislike pulling her around. The situation calls for it. I turn forward, my free hand over my head in a futile attempt to keep at least my hair dry. My vision seems to be in grayscale. This really is rotten weather for summer, and the last kind of climate I'd want for a date. A pity I'd even checked the weather forecast beforehand, one of the very few times I've ever done so, only for it to say that Sunday afternoon would be fine. Looking to Lily, her shoulders are by now completely drenched, with her right hand holding tightly to mine, and her left gripping a retracted cane. This horrid downpour came on just as we were between our destination and Yamaku, so we decided to try rushing to the rest of the distance rather than doubling back. Entirely unused to running this fast, Lily's using all her concentration just to avoid tripping over. Zao, do you know where we're going? Even she's reduced to shouting to try and be heard over the combined noise of the wind and the rain. The rest of my voice is completely drowned out by an even heavier burst of rain. The what? The Shanghai. How far is it? It shouldn't be far now. It doesn't take long before I call out to her once again. It looks like we're safe, just up ahead. I quickly pull up to a stop just in front of the familiar exterior, the lantern outside still giving off its reliable glow, and wait for Lily to catch her breath before going in. Ladies first? The tiny bell inside rings out when I hold the door open for her, a smile and a polite nod being my reward before entering myself. As I step in behind her and wipe my feet, only a quick glance is necessary to notice a distinct lack of activity. The Shanghai doesn't seem to get much in the way of patronage, and today is no different, only a couple of tables are occupied. Summoned by the bells ringing, a most expected person comes to greet us. Welcome to the Shanghai. Yuko looks chipper today. Trying to predict her moods is pretty hard, but it's a nice change from the norm. Hello, Yuko. Hey. Good afternoon, you two. She takes a deep bow, somewhat taken aback as she rights herself again and gets a better look at us. What happened to you? You both look... Her eyes drift towards the glass of the door behind us. Oh, dear. We're inside now, at least. I think that's the important thing. Well, it's nice and cozy. You're lucky to be working inside today. It has been nice and quiet. I like days like this. Oh, wait. Sorry, is there anything you'd like? French vanilla tea, please. I'll have the same. Right, coming right up. She quickly skitters off with a determined look on her face, trying very hard not to forget our orders. If nothing else, she is at least dedicated to her jobs. I lead Lily to an empty seat before the two of us settle down. As usual, there's a large difference between my exhausted flopping down into my seat and Lily's delicate sliding into hers, her cane set beside her. For a while, I just idly watch the rain falling outside. The occasional person runs down the street trying to stay as dry as possible, hands off and tightly gripping a rain-soaked umbrella. Lily sits just as quietly as I, her eyes closed as she intently listens to all that's happening. It's a comfortable, relaxing silence that exists between us, just the type that we'd so often shared together in the past months. For Lily, at least. Can't help replaying the words of her sister in my mind, at times contrasting them to both our time spent together since I entered Yamaku, and to the way we've been since we started dating. No matter how much I try, I can't work Lily out. It's as if the harder I try to second-guess her emotions and her potential decision, the more difficult it becomes to reach a clear conclusion. Makes me doubt whether I'd ever really understood her. In the end, I'm going to have to ask, even though I very much want to avoid doing so. You seem quiet today, Hazal. Really? You seem so enthusiastic about taking me out on a date. I assume you had something specific you would want to do. No, not really. Just wanted to spend some time with you. Is that so? Oh, fine. There was one thing. A little grin finds its way onto Lily's face, knowing full well that she's bested me. It makes what I want to say all the more awkward. It was just Akila and I were talking. Oh? What's with that tone? You two do seem to get on well, don't you? Well, I do think she's a pretty cool person to talk with. It'd be nice if if any of the teachers were anything like her. Cool. For a moment, I try to place her tone of voice, my mouth curling into a smirk as I realize it. You're not jealous, are you? I'm not jealous. After her teasing me over such a thing on our first date, I don't feel too bad having a little laugh at her expense this time around. As we settle down, though, it's only a minor distraction from the real point of why I brought Lily here. Don't worry, it's mostly just everyday stuff. That said, there was something Akio mentioned that I wanted to talk to you about. When you went to see your family in Iverness a while back, she said... Akio told you about my family summons, hasn't she? Seconds tick by while I try to read Lily's face, an odd mixture of feelings written on it. She seems annoyed, but is also somewhat confused. Here. Yugo tentatively slides her drinks onto the table, her presence oddly small. As she walks back to the counter after a quick, polite nod, I realize the air between me and Lily is thick and our expressions are both somewhat pensive. Even though she says I should lead my own life, she still interferes at the worst times. I don't think you should blame Akila here. She's just looking out for you, and it's not like I can't understand her concern over this. Lily's irritation gives way to an awkward and largely unsuccessful attempt to mask her feelings. She really doesn't deal well with being cornered on personal topics. I know, but I just wanted some more time. I knew you'd have figured it out eventually, but... You were intentionally hiding this from me. For how long were you planning to do so? As I said, I simply wanted more time to think it through. I wanted to be sure of my decision before telling you. What did you decide to do in the end? I know what I want her to say, but an awful feeling refuses to leave my gut. My family does dearly want me to return to them, and Akio will be going as well. I could still teach as a career, whether it be here or there. So, you're going. How long have you known? I already know you were asked when you first went to Scotland about a month ago. Some time. My frustration very nearly boils over. The fact she's done this affects me more than it should. For her to not only be leaving, but to have been actively hiding her own plans from me, and after seeming for so long to be the one solid pillar of support and reliability I could depend on. It feels as if the foundation underneath me is suddenly shifting drastically, much faster than I can adapt to. Perhaps this isn't so much frustration as sheer unease. Lily. I'm sorry, I just wanted to think this through completely. I wasn't trying to take advantage of you, please. I know, Lily, I know, this is just really sudden. I guess this means that once you go, we'll be breaking up. For one of the few times I've seen since I met her, she's genuinely lost for words. She doesn't look surprised, no doubt because of the fact that it dawned on her once she became sure of her decision, but rather she appears genuinely unsure of how to deal with the situation now that it's in front of her. We could try pursuing a long-distance relationship. They're getting more and more common these days, after all. Even as she says it, the tone of her voice gives away that she doesn't truly believe what she's saying. Lily is far too old-fashioned to be able to cope with a relationship without any kind of physical presence, and even I am, to an extent. All we would ever be to each other would be a voice from the other side of the world. In the end, trying to rationalize everything is futile. Any attempts to try and connect what's happening with the future or past just seem to get more difficult the more I concentrate. Those quiet moments when we just walked side by side, the precious time we spent with Hanako and Akira, the casual chatter we had during our lunch times, the times we made love, the confessions of our feelings to each other. All pointless, all just a fleeting moment in our young lives. We're just two children pretending to be adults, aren't we? A long, long silence hangs in the air between us. The noise of the other patrons drinking and talking only makes the situation feel more strange and disconnected. Lily's face remains low, her dejected expression clouding it. I'm sorry, Hazao. A simple apology and no more. She's left entirely without any further response or comment. With a long sigh, I gather what's left of my thoughts and ask the final question I have for her. When will you be going? I'll be leaving with the kiosk, so it'll be a little less than a week. The beginning of summer holidays? And just a little afterwards, yes. Her tone is unusually slow and steady, her apologetic and depressed mood all the more written on her face as she tries to hide it in her voice. In the end, I can't even keep my promise of going to Tanabata with her before she leaves. I look down, seeing my face reflected in the by now lukewarm cup of neglected tea sitting in front of me. I really thought I had left this kind of expression behind. For a while, I just stared down into the still surface, trying to sort through my emotions to get what course of action I should take, whether it be right now or in the future. But, just as before, the effort is wasted. I glance up to see Lily gently sipping her cool tea without complaint, her face drawn and shoulders slumped. She looks to be in deep thought too, a strangely cold atmosphere coming between us as we isolate ourselves to mull things over. Even as Lily's cup slowly empties, mine remains untouched. It's a long time before I notice the rain drawing outside and the few other patrons of the Shanghai having left. The chill of the rapidly darkening evening permeates the dormitory halls. While trudging down the corridor to my room, I see an unwelcome movement from overhead. Sure enough, the opening of the door opposite mine heralds the arrival of a bespectacled Kenji. Hey man, what's... Whoa dude, you look awful, I think. You okay? He really has a knack for making any situation better. I don't really want to go into it, it's late. Okay, that's cool. If you ever want to talk about it, I'm here, I'm here. I look at him for a moment before surrendering my stern front and awkwardly scratching the back of my head, embarrassed by my standoffish response to him. Oh, thanks, Kenji. Hey, it's cool, that's what friends are for, right? Yeah, you're right. See ya. I open the door to my own dorm and close it behind me as he quickly waves me off. The salt that the door makes against the doorframe sounds out a final call for the life I'd led since coming to Yamaku. I just stand in my darkened room, fruitlessly attempting to work out what I should do from this point onwards. Just what should I do? Well, something's finally happening. And, like, the last half of the last act of her route, for something finally happens. As class ends, I simply rest my head on my hand and stare out the window to pass the time. It's been a few days since Lily told me her plans. I haven't been to our ordinary lunchtime haunt since then, not that there would be much point. Hanako's been busy with the newspaper club she's newly joined, and has even begun talking in class with Naomi every now and then. Even Lily, aside from the fact that a meeting between us would have been awkward in any case, has been run off her feet with class representative duties as the summer holidays approach. And now they're just about here. With the end of today's bell, the summer holidays will have begun. I suppose that all I'll end up doing will be visiting my parents for the duration and lazing about at my old home now my previous plans are entirely askew. Meanwhile, Akira and Lily will be en route to Scotland to live out the rest of their lives there. No matter how hard to try to rationalize the idea that once the summer holidays begin, my life will return to the way it was, it simply refuses to happen. Everyone's moving on with their lives. Lily's rejoining her family, Akira's moving up in her father's business, Hanako's gaining new friends and hobbies, and even Yuko's moving ahead with her university aspirations. Even I'm moving forward in the end with the marks I've gotten so far in Yamaku. Much less after such a rocky beginning, the path to get into teaching science as a career seems straightforward. I suppose I should at least be happy about that much, but it doesn't really seem to help. Ichan. I quickly stop my ruminating and turn to face the bubbly voice beside me, putting on the most upbeat expression I can muster. As expected, Shizune stands flanking her. I have a sneaking suspicion they want something from me. Hey Misha, Shizune, what's up? Well, Shichan and I were thinking, since we're just two poor little girls that need help with all the work we've been given just before the holidays begin. Sure, I can help. But Hichan, we're really What? I think I broke Misha. Even Shizune raises an eyebrow at her accomplice's sudden stop in her tracks. So you'll help us, Hichan? I just said I would, didn't I? It's hardly like I have anything better to do. Maybe helping them with our work will help take my mind off the situation. Misha seems genuinely ecstatic with my response, but Shizune's expression is clouded and difficult to read. I find myself quickly averting my eyes from her own, as it almost looks like a face of pity. No doubt it must just be my imagination. Yeah, this is hardly the first time I've been in the student council room. Indeed, I've found myself down here often, either to help Lily with class rep work or to sort out one or two things with the student council itself. Now, though, it's quite a different place. Papers and folders are strewn across every table in the room, with only a solitary little black laptop that's atop a single desk sticking out from the mess. It looks positively ancient, and I'd guess it has been valiantly serving its task in archiving information for years and years. That looks like a terrible laptop. Look how fat it is. So it needs doing. This looks like a lot to do. Shizune's expression becomes determined as she signs. It's a worrying look. Everything, Hichan. Oh, my worry was well placed. Everything, you say. What's left on the desk is what needs to be done. It all needs to be digitally recorded, which is what the laptop is for. And I'm guessing that I'll be the one doing this. Shichan says she saw you with the computers in the library a few days ago and that you seemed really good with them. Good with computers. I can touch type, I guess, but it still seems like an overestimation of my skills. I was just typing up homework. Wait, Shizune was watching me do that? One must know their allies before they can know their enemies, of course. Wow, that's pretty wise. For once, it's not very hard to work out who said that. Nonetheless, it doesn't seem worth fighting over. Sitting at a computer doing some typing hardly seems onerous, okay, as far as tasks to help Shizune and Misha go. Besides, it will help take your mind off things. Take my mind off things? Take my mind off what things? Misha's face goes blank as she translates this for Shizune, though the latter's response is only to glance away towards the window after briefly signing. Misha's face quickly returns to a smile as she translates back. She was confused, I guess, but Shizune is harder to pin down. I was just thinking you may like to get your mind off the exams, of course. Either way, we may as well get into it rather than later. I'll go along with you. That's the spirit, Hichan. And that's the 5th spreadsheet compiled and saved. Time for the next month's. After a little bit of fussing around, we all managed to get a bit more organized. Shizune's been gathering me up the loose ends and, thankfully, sorting them into a neat pile next to me. Meanwhile, Misha's been handling the manual writing work. Her girly pink pen leaving its unmistakable mark on paper after paper. Once I got myself into the rhythm, this really wasn't so bad. Shizune and Misha also seem to be in the swing of things, wordlessly communicating as they go about their business with fervor. I periodically glance at the sheet beside the laptop, apparently a list of student names and matching addresses as I dutifully enter the data written on it. I don't pay a lot of attention to what I'm typing until I reach about midway down the page. Hakamichi, class 3-3. Her family home is in Saitama. My idle curiosity is ended abruptly as 3 light taps can be heard rapping on the door. Misha quickly skips over to check who it is, tapping Shizune's shoulder on the way past to let her companion know what's happening. Ah, you're here. Who is it? With a slight pause to enter Shizune's data into the file along with the others, I look up to check who's at the door. Lily. After giving a cursory nod to Misha in greeting, she perks her head up in her trademark manner. Is that Hazel? She's pretty darn good at working out my voice from the smallest of phrases nowadays. Yeah, it's me. Hey. The atmosphere feels slightly awkward as she bows. Neither of us know quite how intimate we should be around each other, given she's leaving in just a matter of hours. This is a fact that, thankfully, neither the oblivious Misha nor the hard-working Shizune pick up on. So, you've got work to do as well. Unfortunately, I arrived as soon as I could, but my class held me up with a surprise farewell party, and I had to get changed. I glanced down at the laptop's clock. It's pretty much the end at lunchtime, so I'm guessing Lily managed to wrangle the last period off as well. I take it Shizune is here as well. Of course. And I've been here during all of lunchtime as well. The last comment was really not needed. Shizune baiting Lily into another argument, I can feel it. I'm sorry I can't be as hardworking as you, Shizune. I'll endeavor to hire more lackeys to do my work in the future, I assure you. And Lily just took the bait, escalating things further. But aren't you the one always outsourcing your work to your classmates? The difference is that they choose to help, unlike your tyrannical grip on your own class. Tyranny works. Even if we did things differently, we still got the same results, right? This is school, not a police state. You will have to remind me of when you were appointed class monarch, I'm afraid. I had to scratch my head. You have to seize power. It's not as good if it's just handed to you, but I guess you wouldn't really understand that, right? You also have to remind me when monarchs were elected into their positions. Lily positively bristles at this. Shizune's two-hit combo forces her onto defense. Yet for all your vaunted power, you cannot get one person to help you without forcing him. But he's out volunteered. He's such a hard worker. He's doing this instead of meaningless socialization, right? Is that so, Hizao? This is bad. I really ended up between a rock and a hard place. As much as it may pain me to do this, the truth is has at least a chance of stopping this argument here and now. It's okay, Lily. They didn't harass me to come or anything. Lily gives me a disapproving grimace, silently radiating her strong feelings of displeasure in my general direction. She could be quite scary when she wants to be, though thankfully that isn't often. Hichan, you make that sound like it's a regular occurrence. It isn't? In the end, it doesn't matter as long as everything is getting done at a good pace. Let's just get this work over with so we can go home. Shizune snorts derisively and gets back to marking off this sheet in front of her, while Lily sighs and finds her way along the room with her hand following the filing cabinets lined along the wall. This will mark the only time I've managed to successfully defuse one of these situations, but the grudging ceasefire built around mutual fear and respect makes this feel more like the Cold War than any real peace. I can't take all the credit, though. Lily's leaving has surely affected Shizune to some extent to make her give up so easily. Moments before getting back to my work, I noticed Lily reaching up to grab something from above the filing cabinet. I almost offered to help, but her height gives her ample ability to take it down safely. Once she sets the strange-shaped device on the desk beside me, I realize just what it is, sort of, as she takes the old green covering off and sits down. At first glance, it seems to be an old metallic blue typewriter, but it doesn't take me long to realize it's far from ordinary. It has far fewer keys than expected, and those it has show no lettering printed on them. Only the shadows cast by the tiny braille dots give a hint to the thing's purpose. Oh, blind typewriter. Oh, this? Well, you're not far off. It's normally a Perkins Brailler, but it's basically a typewriter for the blind, yes. It presses braille into the page rather than text, which is why it has fewer keys. That's really neat. She gives a light-hearted grin at my curiosity over it. I have to admit that it appeals to my sense of novelty. Without further ado, we each get back to our allotted tasks. The loud clunking of the mechanics in Lily's brailler and the tapping of the laptop's old and weird keyboard quickly filled the room. It's a nice atmosphere, really. Everyone knows what they have to do, and Lily and I get to sit beside each other and exchange the odd word as we work away. Nostalgic, that's what it feels like. It's pleasant, but just slightly stained with the knowledge that our time together is nearing its end. Excuse me, Misha. To properly address her, Misha bounces over from the filing cabinet she's peering into, in spite of Lily's lack of sight. For a moment I think it's strange, but then realize it's exactly what I do. What's up? Could you ask Shizune where the attendance records for Class 3-2 are? I think they've been moved. Okie dokie. And with that, she flitters off to Shizune, who's working at a table behind us. Lily's familiarity with the student council, with the student room, the council room, and the efficiency with which she works, remind me that she, Misha, and Shizune used to all work together in the student council. Maybe this is a fitting end for her to stay in Yamaku, working away just like she used to, surrounded by those she loves and at least liked. I look up, getting taken off guard by Shizune sorting through a drawer rather than Misha. Sure enough, she plucks out a manila folder entirely blank save for the just barely visible bumps on its front and holds it out in front of Lily. Lily's hand flits over it to check what it is, her fingers feeling out the dots of braille and confirming it's what she asked for. Thank you, Misha. No reply. No reply, that is safe for an odd grin, no smile on Shizune's face. A couple of seconds pass before Lily clicks that it isn't Misha behind her, but Shizune, her momentary look of surprise is replaced by a slightly bashful smile. For a few moments, the room is all but still and silent. Eventually, though, Shizune strides back to her workstation and Lily begins typing once again. It only lasted a handful of seconds in all, but it feels like years of communication were made up for in that one silent exchange. There, finished. I lean my head back and rub my eyes to try and work away their weariness, staring at that small, rather poor screen's taking its toll. Excellent timing. The only thing left to file is these away, and I'll have my workload finished as well. Good, I can pack up the brailer and put it away while you do that. Thank you, Izao. Misha, are you and Shizune far from being done? I look around for the two as I replace the cover over the brailer, only to see them waiting at the door. I guess they must be waiting for us. With a minimum of time wasted, we file and pack up everything that remains and join them. Thanks for waiting, you two. We couldn't just take off without you, Hee-chan. You've been a great help. Shizune nods approvingly, pleased with my efforts. Yeah, I guess that's the last of class representative work and over with them. That's right. I'll miss you, Lily. I think it was fun working with you. Thank you, Misha. It's been good working with you and Shizune. Shizune thinks for a moment before formulating her response. It's not that she often communicates without thinking, quite the opposite, but this time it's even more considered than usual. Misha looks just a little surprised before passing on the message. Shizune says you better do your work over there better than you did it here. Far from taking offense, Lily giggles into her hand. If that's the case, then please, Shizune, please tell Shizune to give those still here a little more understanding in the future. Competitive until the last, maybe Shizune and Lily aren't so different after all. Shi-chan says she'll be checking to make sure you live up to your end of the promise. Then that's how it will be. I'd better be off then. Goodbye, Shizune. Goodbye, Misha. Izao? Lily takes a hold of my arm in hers. There being no need for a cane if I'm here to guide her, with a nod of farewell to the two, we set off out the door and make our way to the school grounds. As I turn to wave goodbye to them, I notice Shizune's gaze lingering on Lily. They may know each other, but family bonds aren't easily broken. Got all your papers sorted, then? Yes, they've all been filed out and handed in. On top of things, as always, aren't you? She gives an earnest smile at the compliment, but it feels as if her happiness is just a veneer over the fact that she's fully aware of how much she's leaving behind. It reminds me of how she was like when I first met her, always smiling, always that little bit aloof, always that little distance away from everybody. Even now, she still maintains that air around many others, especially those she's not close to. I'd hoped that our time together would have changed that fact. Our pace slows, the two of us coming to a halt in the all but empty school gardens. Izao, is something... Lily's words are cut short as I turn to wrap my arms around her, pulling her tight. I may not usually be given into such impulsive actions, but I just want to be close to her, even if it's the last time I'll be able to. All the other students have retreated to their dormitories and homes, only the ruffling of leaves in the breeze making any sound whatsoever. As I draw back, I can see she has dropped her carefully maintained smile. Her hand hesitates, wanting neither to leave nor stay on my features. She's putting up a brave show, but her slight trembling gives her away. Lily may be able to control herself well, but even she can't hold her composure together now. This is the woman I've come to love, but also the one who in all too short a time will leave the country forever. I'm sorry, Izao. It's okay, you've got your own life to lead after all. We walk up the hallway in the girls' dormitory hand in hand, our emotions by now largely quelled. Nevertheless, our hands grip each other's much more tightly than before. Faint, muffled voices can be heard from Lily's room, the origins of which aren't difficult to guess. The moment she opens the door, Hanako bursts through and wraps her arms around Lily, taking her very obviously by surprise. Lily. Hanako. I'm gonna miss you, Lily. As expected, she's on the verge of tears. Lily gently rubs Hanako's hair with her hand in response, then pulls back and gives a warm, reassuring smile. Looking beyond Hanako, Akio can be seen getting up from the side of Lily's bed and scratching her head. Her eyes turn from Lily and Hanako to me, a stilted, weak smile hanging on her face. I try to return a more genuinely happy look, but the result is probably just the same. So, everything set? Managed to hold back from killing Shizune? The comment draws an amused giggle from her sister. Yes, I have everything in order, and yes, I managed not to. Have you packed everything you need? Got the 2 bags right here, but there's still some stuff left at Hakamichi's home. I can pick that up while we wait there for tomorrow evening's flight, though. Akila gives the two large black traveling bags on the floor a hearty pat. She probably came to help pack and make sure everything was in order on Lily's end before going together with her. Lily, will you be okay over there? I'll be alright, I assure you. I have Akila looking after me as well, and you know she's reliable. But don't worry, Hanako. I have your phone number after all, so we can stay in touch. With Akila's help, I could send you things over the internet as well. Hey, don't use me just because you won't learn how to use a computer. Hanako and Lily both giggle briefly, the mood lightening ever so little. That goes for you too, Hizao. I promise I'll contact you once I'm in Scotland. I know, I'll be looking forward to it. Her offer may be kind, but we both know this is a tantamount of breaking up. Neither of us has any illusions as to how we'd manage a long-distance relationship. With nary a word of prompting, the four of us begin the long, solemn walk to the school gate. The numerous lamps scattered around the Yamaku grounds fail to do much more than provide pinpoints of light in an otherwise dense darkness. A car parked on the road just outside the school grounds comes into view, its shining black exterior reflecting the dimly lit lamps of Yamaku. I call out to Akila in an effort to alleviate a bit of the heavy atmosphere. That your car? What kind is it? Don't know much about cars, do you? It's a Lancer Evo, solid and speedy. Well, it's not as if her comment on my knowledge is off the mark. I've never really taken an interest in them. She gives a small sigh. She's been good. Pity you have to part with it tomorrow. Just like the summer house, you guys were the last place to visit before it changed hands. Turning back from my rather faulty attempt at small talk, I glanced at Hanako and Lily following behind us. By rights, Hanako should be leading Lily, but it's rather definitely the other way around as she clings tightly to Lily's arm. It's a depressing sight. So, I guess this is it. Indeed. Although the time for everyone to say their farewells is now, nobody really wants to take the first step. It's as if the longer nobody speaks, the better the chances of them simply not leaving. Lily, do you really have to go? I'm sorry, Hanako. I won't be leaving you forever, though. I can still call you. Hizao will still be here as well. I nod, but Hanako just clutches all the tighter Lily's arm. After spending so long without anyone to call family, it must be excruciating to have to say goodbye to the one person that was as close to a mother as anyone could have been in her life. Lily lets out a long, sad sigh. All Akila and I can really do is stand by quietly on the sidelines, since the only person that can solve this would be Lily herself. Eventually, Lily pulls her arm from Hanako's grip and holds both of her shoulders gently, a much more decisive way of address than I'd seen Lily take with her. Hanako, remember when we first met? When you entered my room for the first time after overhearing my consoling of a friend, you didn't say a single word for the entire night, even as I poured you tea and talked. You sat silently and simply listened to what I said. It took many quiet meetings like that before you began to open up to me, but as you began to, I felt some of the happiest moments I've ever felt. I didn't become your friend because I pitied you, Hanako. I became your friend because I knew you were hiding not just from me, but from everyone. Your ambitions, personality, interests, tastes, I didn't know any of them, and neither did anybody else. As you showed yourself to me, though, I began to realize the person that you were, and became sure that our meeting was a very special moment. But Lily cuts her words short as she brings her hand to Hanako's head and brushes her fringe to the side, gently pressing her lips to Hanako's forehead. As she pulls her head back, leaving Hanako all but speechless and her eyes moist, Lily beams a wide smile. I believe you are a very beautiful person, Hanako, and I am certain that you will become a strong and confident woman. You are a very dear friend and someone whom I love very much. Just like Hizao, I will never forget you as long as I live. I may be leaving, but you have your own life here to lead, just as I do. You have your own friends and hobbies and your own hopes after graduation. I want you to devote yourself to them even after I'm not around anymore. That is why I think you will be okay, because you are your own self, with your own life. You yourself proved that to me. Hanako lowers her head in embarrassment, but nods as she does so. I understand. I know I have to say goodbye. I know you have to go your own way. But thank you, Lily, for everything. Thank you, Hanako. Will you be okay? There are a few seconds of silence before the answer comes. I will. Lily smiles, undoubtedly at least partly in relief. That makes me very happy then. Goodbye. Goodbye, Lily. And farewell to you as well, Hizao. Goodbye. I'll miss you. She pauses for a moment before walking up to me, her right hand outstretched in front of her, takes hold of my shoulder. Her left hand slowly and daintily reaches towards my face, taking my cheek in her palm. For a while, she simply holds my face, her fingers just slightly moving to take in its contours. Usually your hand would be warm when doing such a thing, but the night air has given her skin a cool edge. I'm not sure how long we stay like this. Her clouded eyes pointed just below my own as she wears a wistful, almost distant smile. Eventually, though, I take her cold hand in mine. It's difficult to do so, but with a slight sigh, I gently remove her hand from my cheek. I hope you have a long and happy life, Lily, no matter where you might go. Thank you, I'll make sure to. She takes a long, trembling breath before turning slightly towards Akila's direction. Akila? Okay. With a nod, she takes Lily's hand and begins to guide her to the car parked outside the gates. They both walk slowly and deliberately, as if their movements had been rehearsed in advance. Strange to feel like this now, watching somebody leave Yamaku. The feelings of unease I have now reminds me of the first time I walked through those black wrought iron gates that always looked far too pompous for what they were. As they leave, all of us know full well that our lives are irreversibly changing. I'd always told myself that I'd just have to take life as it comes, but everything's changing so fast, so suddenly. In the end, Lily's an irreplaceable part of the lives of both Hanako and I. The noise of Akio opening the passenger door for Lily brings me out of my thoughts, her hand waving back as Lily gets in. See you guys, take care of yourself. Goodbye, Hanako. Goodbye, Hisao. Hanako's hand quickly shoots up, her face brightened by her enthusiastic farewell. Goodbye, Lily. Goodbye. See you, Akio, and goodbye, Lily. The door shuts as we all put on our best happy farewell faces, Akio getting in the car herself and starting up short measure. Lily's hand can just be seen waving through the tinted windows, both of our hands waving high as well. Just as every other time I've done such things, I can't quite work out precisely why I, or Hanako, waved to her, given that she's never seen us do so, but it doesn't matter. Even after that black, shiny car goes down the hill and disappears into the dark night, we carry on waving and seeing Akio and Lily off. And then they're gone. A strange stillness takes over as our hands turn to our sides. I don't quite know what I should do, or how I should feel. In the end, we just stand there silently staring down at where the car disappeared from sight. Goodbye, Lily. All I can do in response to her quiet, mournful goodbye is to place a hand on her shoulder. She looks at me for a few moments before looking back down the hill, secure in the knowledge that I'm still around for her. What we'll do from now doesn't seem all that certain. We all have our own ambitions now, just as Lily said. But even so, it feels like there's a certain missing part in both of our lives now, something that can never be replaced. Oh, it's not over. Alright, well, I guess that's going to be all for this time. This was not a very happy part, finally. Like, most of Lily's route was just, like, nothing bad happening, but now it's just, like, this one part has just been not good things happening. But anyway, thank you for watching, and goodbye.